How are we all? Just make sure my audio is good still. I'll bring that a little bit closer. Sorry. Bring the mic in a little. Welcome to today's stream. Hi, Justin. Hope you're well. Hi, Rye Guy. Thanks for joining. Cheers. Thanks for letting me know. Actually, I will get my pen tool up actually while we're waiting. I'm great, thank you. Cheers. Right, so basically I'm just going to go through a bit of a market sort of general overview today. There's nothing really we're going to focus on in particular, but if you do have any questions or anything that you're focusing on this week, let me know. We can check it out together. I'm going to show you kind of where my focus is this week, and just going to point out a few charts that I'm taking a look at. Also going to show you some of the seasonal players that I'm watching at the moment, and yeah, pretty much go from there. Just log into a few things. Hi Vincent, hi D, hi Asok. I've got a sell position for gold at 1935. Any chance for it to come down? 1935. Are you in this already? That was a brave sell, I'd say. I mean, yesterday was one of those days where we didn't really get sort of the momentum that we weren't going to get any momentum anyway, because there were so many bank holidays yesterday. So we had Europe, UK, US, just to name a few. So the volatility was really low. So a lot of the Monday candles are like these small doji candlesticks. Now, I would kind of read into them with a pinch of salt, basically, and probably would have ignored the price action on Monday's closed unless there was something that was really kind of moving, because now we've got some other things that are kind of popping up today. So we're starting to see some yen strength, for instance, starting to see gold come back into the mix, and we're starting to see sort of a little bit of dollar weakness enter the market. And I think that's all because the debt ceiling negotiations were priced in. We're starting to see the outcome of that now. So there might be a bit of a relief to this dollar rally that we've seen. And that's kind of supporting these other currencies at the moment. Hi, Daniel. Asawenke, hello. Pound and gold. I'll make sure to check over pound. Hi, Abdul. Daniel's looking at euro yen. Cool. We'll take a look at that. Morning, Denise. Still in pound Oz. Do you think it might reach 192? Potentially. I actually profited on my pound Oz move personally. I was only looking for a sort of short-term move up into this 1.9 handle for myself. So I ended up banking my position in here. I do like pound Aussie longs though, especially up potentially to that next level. I mean, the 192 makes a hell of a lot of sense here, which is just this zone up through here, isn't it? Which are these general highs that formed on the 23rd of January in 2022. So yeah, I fully expect potentially a move up into this level. The Australian dollar's proven itself to be a little bit weaker at the moment, which is something that we've spoken about in the past. And yeah, we've got this sort of weakness that is in play at the moment for Aussie. Pound has gained a lot of strength today, and you know, that if that follows through and continues, then yeah, this 192 is definitely the sort of next stop for pound Oz. I hit my general TP just because I'm a little bit more of a short-term trader, so I have got my TP set at the 1.9 area. But yeah, expect the continuation. I'll be looking for further opportunities now. To be honest, I'll be watching this sort of 4-hour time frame. I'll be looking to see if we can get some kind of breakouts. Sorry, guys, if you can hear a bit of background noise, it's just my dog. If price can sort of come back down towards these levels here, maybe back into the one spot 89.60s, then I'll start being a bit more interested again in pound Aussie, because I'll be looking at sort of lower time frames. Essentially, if price, starts to trend back towards this point, I'll be looking for my trend trading opportunities again, seeing those sort of breaks and things like that. That's what I'm going to be looking at in particular. That was a bit of a large pen tool there. There we go. It's a bit better. So yeah, I still like gold Aussie longs, pound Aussie longs into that one spot 92 for sure. That's a good market to keep your eyes on, definitely. Right, guy, hit my TP on pound Aussie. Nice. Can you talk about euro dollar yet? What conditions will make you buy EU? Oof. That's a good question, because I actually like the euro short at the moment, especially against pound. And let me just bring in the euro pound chart here. It's actually one I've got on my watch list this week, is euro pound. So I'm just going to break the chart down and just show you why I'm sort of interested in this market in particular. We have the euro been a little bit weaker today, and you can see that across the board. Pound strength. So looking at the potential for euro pound to trade a little bit lower. Just looking at this weekly chart for one, there's some decent levels down at these lows, which is kind of the area I'm looking to target. So that level is around about the 86 handle. I'm just going to raise it a little bit higher because I like to be the first person sort of out of these positions. Actually, let me bring that. Sorry, let's bring that back down. That doesn't make sense. 85.75. That should look a little bit better. There we go. I always put zones around these anyway, but I just like to make sure that the line kind of cuts through the area. So 85.75. If I just grab a zone, this area down through here is where I'm looking to see euro pound prices potentially head towards. And that's because euro pound pretty much does range, and we do see this kind of range be in the sort of lows at that 85.75. We can even look all the way up to this 89.75 area as well. You could argue that it could be in the 0 spot 9s. I'm just putting it to 89.75 for now. Again, if I just add a little tool there. So this is how I generally break down a market, guys. I look for those bigger areas on a weekly time frame and then see how price is kind of shaping up between those. So if I go to the daily time frame now, just zoom out a little bit, you can see that overall range. So looking to see if price will start dipping towards the lows of the range here. And you can see that we've been in a minor range already. So there's this kind of little minor range going on. If I actually just switch up the position here and zoom in, you can see we've got this range that's sort of between the 0 spot 86.70 and the 0 spot 87.20 kind of level. And we've been consolidating since the sort of 9th of May. So pretty much nearly the entire month price has been in this consolidation, starting to break out of those consolidations now. So this is why I'm quite interested in a potential euro pound short at the moment, just because we're getting that breakout. We know we can see where the clear targets are for price, really, which is down at these levels. So looking to see if we can continue potentially back down into that point of interest for our euro pound at the moment. So yeah, but that's me focusing more on that sort of pound strength as well. Now looking at the 4-hour time frame, that's where I'm going to be looking to see if price can pull back. If it does, and we get to the range lows, then I'm going to be looking at my lower time frame. I'm going to be looking for those double top patterns and things like that. If price fails and we come back within the range and it comes to the high of the range, then that's a different story. I'll see if price rejects it. If not, we may break and move higher. But for now, you know, looking at resistance at these range lows here, seeing if price will come back and reject it. And yeah, I'll just wait to see how price reacts there. If it doesn't react, it doesn't react. If it does, then great. But yeah, I do like Euro Pound at the moment. One that I did want to talk about was Aussie Yen short. I do like the Aussie Yen short at the moment. But I will go over. So we've been asked to look at Euro Pound and Euro Yen. So I'll go take a look at those first. Let's start off with the Euro. So we're trading below the 1.075 handle at the moment in time. And this was the level that we're actually targeting in our live streams. We were looking to see if price will hit these type of levels, and we kind of traded through them. Prices then come back to the other side. You know, will we continue to trade lower essentially? Now, the daily price action's a little bit sort of skewed here in terms of doesn't really show us that the momentum is still kind of dropping to the downside, right? So I would say it's probably best to sit on our hands a little bit here, because what would be forming in and around this point at the moment is almost like a little range. So if I was to go to the 4-hour time frame, you can see that it's a bit hard to see. If I zoom in a little bit, you can see it's starting to just range. We haven't really got any clear lower highs and lower lows at the moment. Everything's just kind of wicking to the downside or wicking to the upside. So you know, that's not the way I particularly want to trade this market. You know, I want to trade lower highs, lower lows, where you're getting these consistent impulse phases. When it starts ranging here, that's a market that doesn't know what it's doing. That's an indecisive market. So I'm going to sit and wait out on euro dollar for the moment. I'll just watch the daily chart. Maybe the daily chart will give us some insight. You know, if we get maybe a bullish candle here, a bearish rejection, maybe that could be the clue then that starts kicking off euro dollar to the downside again. So yeah, we'll wait and see there. What if the price doesn't reach the resistance for euro pound? How would you trade that? That's a good question. I'd wait for another consolidation pattern. So if price doesn't move back to the resistance here, but it moves sideways, right, I'll be looking for breakout opportunities on that type of move, because it would show me that the momentum is definitely to the downside. If price can't move any higher and then we get a breakout, let's say, you know, typical patterns you'll get here, maybe a bit of a sort of flag pattern or something, or, you know, you get those ones where you kind of have like a triangle squeeze like that, something like that, or just a general sort of range consolidation. We get any kind of breaks to the downside, you know, they could offer you some good opportunities to trade lower. Okay. Because like you said, we don't always come back to the resistance level, which is unfortunate. But you got to trade your plan at the end of the day. If your plan is to wait, or your strategy is to wait for price to come back into a particular area of interest, then you've got to wait for that. Okay, you should wait for that, because it'll pay dividends in the long run. So euro dollar's looking a little bit uncertain. That's probably due to this dollar index play that we're seeing here at the moment. Although I do quite like dollar index up to the 105. You can see we're starting to just kind of find a little bit of resistance there. I did post in the week ahead analysis video a little bit of a post about the 5-year treasury note. So the reason why I did that is because if I was to look at my seasonality chart, let me just try and bring this up. I was looking at, so we've got the peso. There's some potential seasonality on the peso. Here we go, 5-year treasury notes. So let's bring this down. So you can see here, this is sort of the end of May, okay? And then we have this kind of aggressive move down. Now, what I like to look for when I'm looking at seasonality, I like to look at sort of the months prior as well. So you've got May's been quite a bullish month. The previous month to that, you could argue was sort of bearish, and then you can see all that kind of bearish movement down. Now I just want to show you how correlated the 5-year treasury note is with the dollar index. So just bring that in. Need to think the dollar's having a healthy retracement going into NFP. Probably, yeah, I can see a bit more of a move down to come, and then maybe NFP drives it into that 105 handle. You can definitely see that potential happening. But if I was to type in the US 5-year note, and then if I was to compare, clicking on adverts. Sorry, I need a boom arm for this mark because now it's just getting in the way of everything. Here we go. So on Trading Economics, I can show you how correlated the 5-year treasury notes are with the dollar index. So the dollar index is in the blue, treasury notes is in the green. You can see that, whenever we see treasury notes sort of peak and drive lower, dollar index can follow that sometime after. Again, when we start seeing these lows, again, are we getting a bit of a peak in the treasury notes before seeing a move? Now, obviously, we like the idea of dollar index coming into 105. So that's sort of this area in here. Let's actually make sure that we are factual in what we're saying there. So if I was to, wonder if I can hide this. Don't think I can. The 105 area on the dollar index is going to be, just that sort of shoulder that we just saw there on the other chart on the line graph. So it's going to be this shoulder here, right? So can we see some kind of drive into that? That would also mean treasury notes would probably come back up into the 3.9 sort of area, near towards the 4% area. So that could be a good little area to see a little bit of a topping before seeing a continuation lower. So I don't think we're going to peak towards the highs there. On the dollar index, I don't really see us coming into those peaks, to be honest, at the 105.75. I just don't see that yet. So yeah, like Denise says, we're probably going to see a little bit of some kind of, pullback, maybe even just consolidation. Maybe the NFP report comes out in favor of what the Fed are looking for, and then we get that boost up to the 105 handle, which could then obviously trigger some sells basically on the dollar index. But obviously we don't know what's going to happen next. It's just what we think could happen next. But yeah, you can see price is, hey, when MetaTrader does that, but you can see price here around about this 104 handle at the moment, just holding at that support. So, price was to break to the upside, it could be a good opportunity. Now, that could lead us to look at some other, opportunities. So like with euro dollar, when I talked about this range that's forming here, that may cause the euro dollar to trade lower. So that could be something you watch. Aussie US dollar could be one to continue lower as well. Real nice clean break of this range. I really like Aussie downside. Currently, you can look at this weekly chart. You can see, look at that really strong close outside of the weekly range now. So I like the idea of potentially seeing Aussie US dollar trade lower, perhaps down to the 0.64 handle. If it does, there could be some opportunities in there. So, as I always say, I'm looking for those impulsive phases and I'm looking for the trends within that. So if we look at the 4-hour time frame here at the moment, Aussie really failing to climb any higher. We're starting to find highs at the 0.6550. So one way we could look at this, we could look at it for a potential breakout move. So, we've got this kind of trend line or counter trend line that we could use in here. Let's say this is a 4-hour chart. So if that closes like that 6 p.m. British Standard Time, so in a couple of hours, if that closes like that, you could maybe declare that as a breakout opportunity, and Aussie US dollar could then continue to trade lower at that point. But Aussie's definitely on my list this week, especially Aussie yen. And the reason why I love Aussie yen is because of, again, just the seasonal play that we're seeing. These seasonal patterns, I like to use them for a reason. They're not always obviously accurate in terms of when it happens, but when they do happen, they can play out really well. And again, Japanese yen is another one that we need to start taking our eye or keeping an eye on, just because end of May, start of June is where we can really often see a bottom in the price of the yen, and it could go on a strengthening period. So that's what I'm keeping my eye on, because if we find this time of this area here, let's say, we can just I'm trying to point this out there. There's a decent opportunity to see price trade lower. Sorry, for dollar yen. I'm trying to drag that little bar over. It's not working for me at the moment. Okay, here we go. Okay, so there's a 60% chance that the yen's going to bottom on June 1st and then peak in October 17th. So 60% chance, that's still good odds, right? That we're going to see that move happen. So I'm going to be keeping my eye on that, definitely, on dollar yen, or just yen in general. But I'm looking at it against those weaker currencies. So Aussie yen to me makes a little bit more sense. We were looking at the weekly chart before, and we were looking to see, how price would be affected here. Now you can see, let me just delete all this and we'll break this chart down again. But you can see in here, price is really failing to trade any higher. We had like a doji candlestick last week, so that was something of interest. And I like the idea of prices now kind of heading towards the lows of that. So, I've got the sort of impression here that potentially the Australian dollar is going to trade lower. Now, if it's going to trade lower, the sort of obvious place that we can look for on this weekly time frame is down back at these lows, just from a technical point of view. Okay, so that's around about the 86.50. So we can plot that graph there, or plot that line there. I'm just going to add a tag in here at the 86.50 handle. I'm just going to add in our zone through there. So we know that's our sort of potential target running through, is that 86.50. Okay, so if we are going to see that sort of impulsive phase down, this is again where I like to look at sort of opportunities on my lower time frames. Now, there's two ways you can do this. You can, if you haven't got much time to trade, the best way I would say is looking at your daily time frame. Okay, because if I was to highlight this recent sort of move to the upside, so the move from the 86.50 all the way up to the 92.25, and I was to go to the daily time frame, you'll be able to see, look, price starts to make higher highs and higher lows until it reaches it. It continues to go, and then we start seeing that sort of breakdown potential there. I like to go in a little bit deeper, so I like to look at the 4-hour time frame, just because of the reward to risk. Obviously, I still keep in time with my sort of other time frames, but when we start seeing these sort of moves, especially when we come back into volume areas as well, so that would be a heavily traded volume area in here. Price is then shot to the upside. Here is where I'll be focusing on those lower time frame concepts again. Wherever you get a consolidation and price breaks out aggressively, you have to ask yourself the question. That's where institutional trading has potentially occurred. Prices come back. What happens? We get another consolidation. Price takes off to the upside. Okay. Now we're starting to see the opposite. We've had a double top pattern, and this is what we kind of discussed last week. We had a double top pattern. Sorry, I meant to erase that there. We have that double top pattern. So you've got there the two touches. There's your double top. There's your technical neckline. Consolidations happened here. We've rallied up. Price is coming back into that area now. So there's a short volume pump here. Now, this is going to be the sort of final chance for buyers, I reckon. Buyers are really going to be looking at this going, is this the time that we're going to continue to get long in and around here? Or is this the time that we're going to let this go? And if it lets go and trades below these lows, we could see a potential retest on the other side for a continuation lower. So I quite like this sort of area in here. If not, and we get a bit of a bounce, then I'll be looking at the highs that have recently seen us sort of sell off from, which is around about that 92 handle. So if we get a bounce, I'll be watching 92, see if we can get that continuation lower. But ultimately now we want to be looking to see if price starts breaking lows, those will be our target points. You know, every time we've gone long there, you know, there's liquidity, okay, whether it be from whoever, you know, we don't know. All these will be those liquidity points. So sometimes the market wants to swallow those up. Vincent, on the markets made clear currency heat map, June is also a bullish month for Aussie. Is that the seasonal? Is that the seasonal one that I'll show every now and again, the heat map? Have a look. What month was it? June? Yep, June can be a bullish month. I think what you were looking for in a heat map is the extremes, right? So I'll just bring this down. This is what Vincent is talking about here. See this heat map, all right? Now, the way I'd be looking at this, I'll be looking at real extremes. So everything that's heavily red or everything that's really strongly blue, that's the ones that I'd really be looking at. Anything other than that, I wouldn't really be taking too much notice, because otherwise you're going to be fixed into a bias of what it's going to be doing every single month. Now, I know I talk a lot about seasonality, but I only talk about seasonality when something's coming into a potential peak, whether that be a peak high or a peak low, right? So that's the only kind of way I'm looking at this, really, is because of that situation there. So the heat map is just more of a generalization of what happens. So, you know, the one that I'd probably pick out, so you've got the DX here. You know, you've got the most sort of bearish months could be July, right? And potentially December, right? You got the FTSE, one of its most bearish month could be June, right? So considering what's happened to the FTSE recently, you know, that could be something that you look into, because you can say to yourself, well, I know the FTSE has been bearish, and on the heat map, it's meant to be its most bearish month, right? Yeah, the 20-year heat map. Yeah, I think that's the same one. That's just a bigger version. That's just a different version of what I was showing you last time. Yeah, I wouldn't get too focused into the heat map in general. I'd be looking more at where things peak and when they're at the lows as well. I did want to get onto the commitment to trade reports, to be honest, because I did want to see if there are any signals from a commitment to trader point of view, because we were looking at things like gold last time and stuff like that, but I'll have to bring that up for the next stream. But yeah, you got all this kind of, you can add some trend lines to Aussie yen if you really want to, and things like that. I like the idea of this daily chart sort of breaking down, heading towards that 86.50 lows there on Aussie yen. So that's something that I'm going to be keeping my eye on. Let's go to cable. I know cable's one to watch at the moment. Cable has been rallying quite aggressively to the upside today. We came into that one spot 23.50. We traded below it. What we were looking for is to see if that momentum would continue to trade lower. And again, I'd be looking at seeing if price would trade down first before looking for your continuation just confirms you breaking into those lows, because you're at obviously a level of support. Now, price has consolidated. We've broken higher. The way I'm seeing this is, we're breaking, we're having a short-term breakout. If price comes back down and starts finding support again, and we start seeing another rally out of pound, then, so be it. Look for the continuation. Pound is bullish at the moment, or is strong. So we're looking to see if that continuation will, obviously continue. But at the moment, I haven't really seen anything that's going to make me jump into sort of anything just yet. A lot of the times when we get these kind of large moves to the upside, price can come and recover them. So that's what I'd be waiting for. I'd wait for price to come and recover these moves first before we continue for any kind of opportunities there. Let's have a look at Kiwi. Kiwi's not really doing much. Pound yen. So, pound yen's approaching another level of resistance as well. I was asked if you should go sort of short here, and I didn't think it was a good idea because the yen was still weak. Obviously, yen today has started to strengthen, but if that pound's going to remain strong and yen's going to strengthen, then we could see another consolidation here. So I don't think pound yen's particularly a great chart to trade at the moment, unless we were seeing that pound start to sort of, roll over, or yen start to roll over again. You can see on this hourly, you're starting to get another sort of consolidation. So, sorry, I'll stop flicking around. So yeah, that's pound yen for me is a little bit off the table at the moment for an opportunity. I think when you're looking at getting into moves, you need to look at where the momentum is in the market. And, you can clearly see at the minute, pound yen, there's no momentum, or the momentum that was there has faded. Whereas if you look at Aussie yen, you can see that there's momentum in that market, so that's where I want to be actioning positions. There's the FTSE as well. FTSE could continue lower, through June. Look, again, momentum is with that market. We've had aggressive selling, short-term pullback, aggressive selling again. So FTSE could be coming all the way back down towards the lows here as well. Yeah, but gold's looking good. I actually like an opportunity here on gold, to be honest. 1950 is a good level on gold. We were talking about gold a while back. Let me just see if I can bring it up on my other screen. The thing's gone again where I can select. Oh, here we go. Is it here? Metals, gold. Let's have a little look at gold. So it's kind of becoming a little bit of an interesting market. It's may even starting to perform its seasonal pattern a little early. But this is what we discussed on gold before. You can see throughout June, kind of finds a bottom, and then July, we start to see that bullishness happen. So this custom one was, if May was negative, so we had a bearish May. It usually still finds a bottom towards June and July. So looking for that long on gold, and 20 years, over 20 years, it also finds a bottom through sort of June and rallies beyond that. So that's the reasoning behind me looking into potential gold upside. So yeah, looking to see if that will sort of play out there. And I do like this 1950 handle that we're at the minute. I was going to take a long off this hourly time frame above this candlestick high here, but I haven't taken it. It would have been 30 pips up on that one. Got to see how this daily closes, to be honest. I want to see how the daily closes. If we get this kind of nice, strong, bullish engulfing candle where it's engulfed sort of the past 3 potential days of price action, then, that is going to be something quite interesting. And again, I'll just be kind of watching my lower time frame, seeing how the 4-hour pulls back. Can we get a pullback into sort of the 1950 area for an opportunity. So, something like that. Thing is, when you trade in the market, you've got to be patient, because it's taking off at the moment. You don't just want to dive into anything, just because it's going long where you think it's going to go long doesn't mean you have to try and chase that market. What you can do is you can wait to see if your buyer starts playing out. And then if it does come back to your area of interest, that's when you can start looking to sort of get long or looking to action your trading plan then. Okay. But yeah, I do quite like the opportunity of gold just because it's in that area that we've spoken about in a while. For a while, it's in that supporting point. So yeah, gold looking pretty good at the moment. I want to just see. Let's go see if I can go back to that arc chart. Gold. See if we can see the contracts have gone up a little bit. So shorts have actually declined to. I wanted to see shorts grow to about 300,000, and they've declined to 194. That's not particularly what I want to see. But if I go to a weekly time frame, that looks pretty good. You're like in an upward trend there. You're back at previous highs. Could we see the continuation? But I think it's early days yet. Like Denise said, we've got NFP this week. We've got potential US dollar sort of strength to come. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens next. Let me just bring up the news for the week because we've got quite a bit coming out. So yeah, we've had the US CB consumer confidence out today. We've got RBA Governor Lowe speaking at 12 a.m. British Standard Time. Our CPI as well. Jobs openings tomorrow, yeah. Then we've got the ADP non-farm change Thursday, NFP Friday. So NFP is going to be the interesting one. The past two times NFP's come out, it's sort of beaten estimates. So are we actually going to see it come out for, come down again, or are we going to see it miss those estimates? Vincent, how long do you normally hold your trades? That's a very good question. I like to be in and out quite quickly. So there's times where I've held it for, a few minutes. There's times where I've held it for sort of a couple of hours. I don't typically like to go beyond that. That's just my sort of style. I like to be in and out of profits within the day. I don't really like hanging on to things, but I do. If an occasion arises where I think I can hold this one, I will. Okay, so it just depends on the market that I'm trading. To be honest, it depends what my intentions are. If I think something's going to run for the long term, then yeah, I'll hold it. But if I don't think it's going to run for the long term and I'll just want to be in and out, then that's all I'll do. Does that make sense? So I'd always say, if you're worried about holding positions, then the question that you're asking is wrong. The question you're asking is, what is my intention with this market? What do I think this market's going to do? It's like you shouldn't just go and trade cable if you've heard that trading cable is a good thing to do. Is there any momentum behind that market? What are the fundamental factors that are going to drive that market? Because if it's got no sort of volatility drive in the market, then it's probably not going to go anywhere. And that's where a lot of people are going to get caught out when they're trading. Okay. Any other questions, guys? Did I miss any of the asked questions? Pound, yen I covered. Did I cover euro, yen? Daniel, let me know if I did or not. I can't remember. I take profits based on resistance points. So I don't really look at the RR too much. Obviously, I want it to be positive risk reward before I even take the position. That's a must. for me. But I like to have multiple positions in terms of on a single impulsive phase. Let's just say, let's pick out an impulsive phase. Let's pick out an example here. Let's say this kind of move down on gold back towards, the 1950, back towards the 1800 area. That to me would be a point where, okay, if I'm down on my 4-hour time frame here, I would look at it and say to myself, well, what's the sort of trend doing? Okay, we're broken in from those highs there. The momentum's with us. We can see that strong momentum, and then you can see we have a trading pattern. We have that consolidation, price breaks down. Now, the way I like to trade is looking for previous kind of high points or previous lows. If I know that I'm going to be bearish in this market, I'll be looking at those previous highs there for opportunities to potentially trade to the downside, because obviously we don't know which one is going to be the one that makes price move lower. Okay, so I'll be looking at all those highs there. I'll be looking at this high in particular because it formed a high there, and then as it breaks down again, we formed highs here. So I'll be watching for the retest of those highs, because that's the way I like to trade. I like to wait for price to come to an area where sellers have been involved before, okay, before continuing down. Now you could have other different ways of how you do it, but for me, I would be looking for shorts. So let's say I took 1 there, 2 there, 3 there, okay, and I like to take very small positions, so I don't go very aggressive here. I'll be like sort of 0.25% of my trading funds in there on each one. Okay, so I'm 0.7 in the hole at that point. When price comes down to my first target point, so my first target point would be that low there, I'll take a large majority of my positions off. Okay, let it run. If it continues to the next target point, let's say I've made that the next target point, I'll exit all my positions before I start building again. So again, 0.25, price has moved down quite aggressively. I'll start banking some positions. Let's say my overall target is that 1800 sort of area, that 1810. That's where I'll be looking to take my most, or sort of all profits, if I have any kind of remaining trades left on. But I always like to take something out of the market first. Otherwise, we could be in that state where if I had got short here, 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 and here, and there, and then for whatever reason, price just turns all of a sudden, then I've banked nothing. I've come out of it with nothing. I've probably lost this one. These ones at that point, would probably be at break even. But the thing is, I would have not taken any money out. And I think, the money's always better in your pocket than it is in the market. Okay. So that's the way I see it anyway. I like to look for those sort of short-term gains on the impulsive legs down once I've been able to identify where that sort of momentum is in the market. Denise, I like to hold for days if the swap fees pay out. I think it's going my way for a while. Yep, that makes perfect sense. Absolutely perfect sense. Trail your stops, perfect. But you've got a plan there, you like the swap charges, you hold for longer. Makes complete sense. What do you think about Kiwi CAD? Let's have a look. Not a particular market that I tried too often, I must say. I think we did this a while ago, actually. Weren't there even some kind of flag pattern on the weekly? Oh, here we go. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we talked about this. And this was our target zone. So that somewhere down in here was our target zone. Because price at the time was working in that sort of bullish channel there. It's 225. MetaTrader sometimes. So yeah, so that was the sort of target zone, because you have this kind of large, full scale sort of flag pattern. You've got aggressive buying coming in here, consolidation down. You know, is that going to be the next one that breaks higher? You know, potentially. Would a bank on that move happening? Absolutely not. What I'd be doing is, you're at an area of support now. So again, what's driving this market? What are the key factors that are driving this market? Is it, you know, from a fundamental point of view, you know, what is driving this market? You could say, well, for CAD side of things, you know, you've got inflation, you've got the interest rates. You could say that obviously as well for New Zealand. You know, maybe go and study what the New Zealand interest rate is, the Canadian interest rate is. Why don't you go and have a look at the GDP of those, and see if you can find any kind of opportunities to suggest to you that one market could do one thing or the other. You could even go take a look for CAD. You could even go have a look at oil prices. What are oil prices doing? Are they trending to the upside? Are they trending down? You know, if I want to be long at this area, what does that mean? Well, that means that, you know, if I want to be long Kiwi CAD, we have to understand that we're not trading Kiwi CAD. We're trading the New Zealand versus the US dollar versus dollar CAD, right? So what do I want to see? I want to see Kiwi dollar move higher. I want to see dollar CAD moving higher. So, oh, I've just realized my face is in the way there. Let me just move that back. So that's what you're doing there. So you have to look at your, you have to bring in the whole study basically and say to yourself, well, what's going on in the New Zealand US dollar market? What's going on in the dollar CAD market? Does it make sense to be long Kiwi CAD? Okay. Sometimes looking at the technicals can just get you a little bit lost, which is fine. You know, you can look at technicals obviously, but yeah, I would be very cautious. You know, if Kiwi CAD was still a short for you, I'd be very cautious because you're at support. Looking at the 4-hour time frame, you can see, look at the aggressive selling, and then we're just kind of slow in pace here. So, you know, price just may want to stay within that weekly sort of channel that's been formed. I just want to do that. But yeah, I would be looking at the sort of drivers behind those markets before looking at getting or doing anything on Kiwi CAD. Yeah, Denise, I look at the individual indexes as well. That's a very good thing to do. Very good thing to do. Very good practice to have. Look at the individual indexes. You can have a look at stock markets as well, what the stock's doing. So everything I'd pour into that. Right then, guys, does anybody have any other questions? We've been running for about 50 minutes now, which is longer than I actually anticipated. But like I said, what I'm just gonna just to kind of round up my sort of weekly watch list, I'd say, you know, I'm keeping an eye on gold prices. At the moment, we're kind of at 1950, so looking to see how that plays out. I quite like Aussie yen. Okay, so which I've got on the screen at the moment. Quite like Aussie yen. Potential downside on this market, so looking for that potential there. Other markets that I'm quite interested in as well, anything that's Oz related at the moment, so Aussie dollar. We talked about a little bit of pound Aussie as well, so quite like anything that's kind of to do with Aussie. Also potentially euro pound, but I'm keeping my eye on that one. Yeah, I don't know whether this one's going to particularly play out, but euro pound is definitely on my watch list this week for some potential opportunities. Does anybody have any questions? We all okay? If not, I will leave it there. You're welcome, Denise. Kiwi dollar. Kiwi is not particularly something I'm looking at the moment, just because it's down here pretty much doing nothing at the minute. We had a nice weekly breakout, very similar to Aussie US dollar. That's the only thing I can really say about it at the minute. Otherwise, the daily is just kind of consolidating along with everything else. So the only difference here is we've had a very aggressive move. Usually very aggressive moves can be followed by a bit of a pullback. So that's the only thing here that's potentially putting me off Kiwi dollar over other markets. You're welcome, Justin. I'll be back on Thursday. We'll do a potential educational bit of content there. So I'll think about some kind of educational content that we can do, and then we'll go about our business then. Vincent, Aussie Swiss. Haven't got Aussie Swiss on here. Let's have a look at the daily. Yeah, you can't at lows here on this weekly, so I'll probably do nothing with that at the moment. I think there's better markets to trade, basically. Better markets to trade. I like oil breaking down as well, though, so that's something to consider, but we'll talk about that in another video. Right, I'm going to leave it there, guys. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you are new around here, then please hit the subscribe button. Really appreciate that if you could do that. Like the stream if you thought it was informative, if you learned something new, and I will catch you all very, very soon, and I'll speak to you tomorrow. Cheers, guys.